Hey, welcome to another episode of Callcore Conversations. Today we have Alexis Priddy, and she is the CEO of YellowWebMonkey. And in this episode, we're going to talk about everything from SEO to core values and work-life balance. So Alexis, let's start off. Just tell us a little bit about your business.
So I started YellowWebMonkey 15 years ago, and it was quite the journey where I actually went from being an officer in the Army to switching jobs 6 times in 2 years, kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up. And I always did web design on the side, just something I enjoyed, something that made sense. And I finally realized, let's just do this. And so I started the company, and we've grown quite a bit. We have 12 team members now. And kind of a unique thing about us is everyone on the team is either a veteran, military spouse, or both.
Awesome. Awesome. That is very interesting. So, coming into this field, what were the challenges that you faced at first with web design itself?
I think when you're starting out, the biggest thing's building your portfolio. Nobody wants to hire an unknown thing. Once you get a couple clients that you're like, oh, I do them, then that helps. But getting those first ones and putting yourself out there, whether it's going to networking groups or whatnot, can be very daunting. Like, it's much easier at this point. I think we're probably 90% referrals, where work comes to us because we have a good reputation. But it is when you're starting out, it takes a while to build that up.
Yeah, you have to have those testimonials for clients to see like, hey, they've done this before. These people have said good things about them. This is the work that they can put in. So I definitely agree. And we actually work a lot with referrals as well. And, most of our clients come through us through referrals. So very big on word of mouth. That's very important in our company too. And, again, once people can see what you do, that's when your business starts to really expand. So how did you come up with the name YellowWebMonkey?
I get asked that a lot, and I wish it was like some super creative thing, but I am actually incredibly type A. And so when I decided to start the company, I got a notebook and I had columns of like adjectives I like. Yellow's my favorite color. And, just random nouns. Monkeys was always just something I kind of liked, and threw the web in there. I'm glad I did it though, because it's a lot more memorable.
Yeah.
We have a cute logo. I've gotten married since I changed it. So I'm glad that, my last name wasn't part of it since it changed. But it's funny, when I was first going to chamber events early on, people would go, hey, you're the monkey girl. And I'd be like, I don't know if I like that, but I'm glad you remembered me.
Yeah, it catches you. Like, it's very memorable. So that's cool. So YellowWebMonkey is known for exceptional customer service. So how do you cultivate a company culture that prioritizes client satisfaction?
I think the communication, and I know that's cliche to say, but in terms of communicating with clients and having their best interests. And so you build a ton of trust with clients when you say, you know what, you don't need this big service, or they're talking about, oh, maybe I'll do this. And you're like, that's not going to work for your vertical. And I think just having their best interest at heart, clients can kind of see who wants to be part of their team and who's just trying to sell them stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Communication is huge. And being able to, it's not always great for, your pockets as a business, but being able to communicate to them like, hey, you don't need these services. That's always kind of opens their eyes to like, hey, maybe they're not just trying to make money off of me. You know what I mean? So awesome feedback there. So SEO is a critical component of digital marketing. So could you walk us through your approach to implementing effective SEO strategies for your clients?
Yeah. So the way I look at it is, you'll have a lot of people that'll say, oh, we're going to outsmart Google, and we're going to do this and that and get you to the top. And kind of my thought on that is, I have a very high opinion of my intelligence, but I know that Google's got some 16-year-old that runs circle around me. So, and I know that. And so Google puts out their, webmaster guidelines. I think they just renamed them, but whatever they say, this is what we want, this is what we do. And that has really worked over the long term, where every time Google has an algorithm change, all our clients go up in Google Search Console, because ultimately the algorithms are mostly for trying to catch the people trying to outsmart them. So if you play by the rules, and we've just kind of consistently had that. And so it's funny because a lot of other agencies will freak out when there's an algorithm change, but more often than not, we actually benefit from it.
That's good to hear. Yeah, a lot of, even in our space as well, like there's always somebody who's trying to outsmart it. It's like, if you just do it the right way, normally you will benefit from it. So can you share, I know that work-life balance, when we were kind of pre-interviewing you, you said work-life balance, it's a core value at YellowWebMonkey. So how does this philosophy influence your approach to client relationships and to team management?
I think I tell team members, first and foremost, your job should not be the most important thing. I don't expect for YellowWebMonkey to be the most important thing in your life. And it might be that your spouse, your kids, your hobbies, your own, well-being is there. But at the end of the day, this is a job. And we love doing good work. And I don't want to sound like we're skimping, but if somebody has a sick kid, if somebody has something else going on, then you should do that. And I think a unique thing about having the veterans and the military spouses is everybody works as a team. So when someone has to have that life balance and go take care of it, the work still gets done. And there's just trust that balls don't hit the ground on that. Like, it's just passed off to a team member. And so I think that's really huge. And I just did a call with somebody on our team that there's some health problems. And I was like, in case you're wondering, all this work stuff can wait. There's nothing that, like, if you get a last minute appointment or whatever, you take care of that and we can work around that.
That's awesome. And I see, especially on LinkedIn, there's a lot of people and, women that struggle with finding a boss like that or finding a company like that. A lot of companies think this is your job, this is your first priority. But like you just said, realistically, your first priority is outside of here. It's your family, it's your life, your children, your spouse, yourself, whatever the case may be. And a lot of people struggle with that. And, I'm really glad that I found a company that has those same values. But again, a lot of people are not so lucky. So we definitely pride you there. I love to see that. So can you share some specific practices that you have implemented to support work-life balance with your team? I know you kind of just went over them, letting them take that time off. Is there anything else that you have kind of implemented at your work or at your place of employment to implement those?
I think honestly, it's saving people from themselves. So I have these exceptional team members that are type A, that want to do everything. And so on Slack, literally when somebody takes a vacation, we make all new channels where we leave them out of it because I know that they can't put their phone down and whatnot. And so I want their phone to not beep. I want that to not contact them, that we figure it out. And the flip side of that is if you're going out for a week, you make a Google document of this is everything you have open. Here's the notes. Here's the links to everything. To make it easy on each other. And then I think the other thing is modeling that. I go on a week-long cruise every year, and guess what? My phone doesn't. I don't get the internet package. I know that if it's absolutely an emergency, my project leads know if you need to comp a client 2 months of whatever, or you do what you got to do, to keep that client relationship. But I think them seeing if the boss can unplug, I can unplug. And having that time with all the military spouses on our team, like they move. One of my project leads just moved for the 3rd time since she's been working with us, and they'll take a month off because moving cross country with 4 kids, 2 dogs and whatnot. And we just figure it out when they come back. And so I would rather have somebody take a month off and get their family settled and then stay with us for years. And that's really worked on our team.
Yeah, and it definitely builds loyal employees too. Having that type of culture, because 9 times out of 10, if somebody leaves a job, it's not for the pay, it's for the culture. And having that type of culture is going to, keep your employees loyal, keep them there for a long time. And in turn, not have you training new employees and them lacking the knowledge that the old ones have. So let's see. YellowWebMonkey focuses on mid-sized clients. Why did you choose this niche, and how has it impacted your business?
Well, from the bottom end, startups can't afford you, and it's really hard to run an agency on people that are scrapping together, as well as brand new companies. Like every dollar counts, and it's hard to get them to invest in things where, hey, they really need to do A, B, and C, and sometimes they can't. But the work-life balance, I'd say, is where we really don't have the higher one. So we have partnerships with 2 other agencies. And on the Shopify side, we have some Shopify Plus. But as a general rule, once their revenue is over about 10 million a year, we refer it out. And so part of that is being realistic about our team size, as well as the stress level. I want to put my phone down. I don't want a client that sells $100 million a year freaking out because they went down 1%, and at 100 million a year, that 1% really matters. And so I think that's really important, that even as the owner, that you look at whether you like your job. And so I was speaking at a partner roadshow, and I asked the people in the room, how many of you like your job? If you were looking on Indeed for a job, would you be looking at, okay, it's flexible hours, I can leave work at the office, people aren't doing that, it's low stress. Look at what your job has become. Because I feel like most agencies chase those big clients, and then you realize you don't actually like your job. And I think it's kind of uncool or considered uncool to be like, you know what, I don't want that big client. But it's worked well where having those bigger agencies, they do a great job for those clients. The clients appreciate the referral, as well as the agency constantly, as people contact them that can't afford them. So rather than just being like, you can't afford, they're like, oh, we know this other agency that I think is a good fit. And so it's kind of rising tides where everybody wins.
That's good. Yeah, being able to turn down big clients definitely says a lot. But you know realistically what you can handle and what your team can handle and what you want them to handle. So that's great advice for definitely somebody getting into business. Don't chase the high dollar clients. And that's also kind of what we target as well. Most of the clients that we work with are kind of right in the middle. As you said, startups, they don't have a lot of money. And if they're the bigger clients, they want 24-hour customer service. They want to be able to, call you at 10 p.m. when there's an issue. They want to be able to call you at 5 a.m. when there's an issue. So definitely agree with you there. So what advice would you give other CEOs in a familiar field as you about balancing leadership and responsibilities with personal life?
I think knowing that you get to have a work-life balance as well, I think is a big part of it for doing that. But in leadership, it's interesting having the military background, because leadership kind of means a very different thing from that. But I think in general, not asking people to do things you wouldn't do. So if there's a project that needs to be done, I'm the first one that's working late on it and whatnot. And so I think showing that to them, but having the boundary that if there's things that I shouldn't do, that I think it's work-life balance, then you don't need to do those things either.
And going a little bit back on that, what's one piece of advice that you wish you would have received when you first started out?
Go with your gut. I don't know how many times that I would talk to a client that's like, seems like something just doesn't seem right. And inevitably they end up being the biggest pain, or no matter how much money you're getting, it wasn't worth it. And so we'll talk about, we have the acronym for PETA clients, for paying and so I tell all my project leads, if you get a PETA feel from them, then all of a sudden we get really busy and we're booked for the next 3 quarters, or we will actually sometimes charge extra. We call it a PETA tax. And so I think going with your gut on that you're almost always right on that one, that going back to the work-life balance, you should like your job too. And so some clients, there's no matter what you do, it is not worth the money.
Yeah. I like that, PETA tax. My aunt had a dog named PETA, and I always thought it was the funniest thing. So not a lot of people know what that means, but that's funny. So how would you define success, both personally and professionally?
I feel like professionally, it's knowing that you built something that you're proud of. And so I like that with my agency. The parts I'm proud of are, I'm not necessarily going to brag about the websites. Like, I like them, but I brag more about the people and the team I have and the environment we have. And so I think being proud of that You know, you always want to, on a personal, that you have a decent salary, that you're not scraping by, because again, is it a job you like if you're stressed about that? And that was something else I said at that partner roadshow. When people are chasing more clients and bigger clients don't mean your take home's more at all, you know? And so sometimes it's the smaller agencies, you're going to be more profitable at that size. And so I think having something that you're proud of, being able to have a pay that you feel like you're appreciated by your own work, and that you like the people you work with, which I really do.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely those bigger clients also entail, you know, sometimes adding more people onto the project. So that will make the take home less from there when you have more people working on it. So what has your most rewarding moment been as the CEO of YellowWebMonkey?
Hard question. I think sometimes feeling like we're rescuing a client from a skeezy marketing company. Like, I feel like digital marketing is like the Wizard of Oz, where people don't understand what you do under the hood. And there's a lot of companies that will take these small businesses for a ride because they don't know any better. And so I look at, there's one client I think about in particularly that was on Shopify, and some slick agency talked them into moving to WooCommerce, and everything broke and had shipping errors and whatnot. And to able to go in there, fix it, we moved them back to Shopify, but got it to where even though they're a small operation, everything was working, all the things outside of the website, and do that to where that company made it. And I'm not sure they would have if they had kept down that path. And so I think just being good stewards of our clients, like money and trust, I think is probably what I'm most proud of.
So asking a question from that answer, other than that instance, what are some other scams or, you know, skeezy marketing things that you see happen with your clients, or, you know, just with anybody in general?
I think a lot of the skeezy ones, like, always beware of buzzwords. You know, I got put on a joint call with a client where they were going to work with a social media company, and they were kind of dancing around things really odd. And the client was like, "Oh, tell her about the AI, tell her about the AI," because they had sold the client that there was this whole big thing. And really, when I realized it, it was a metapixel. Like, they told him, "Oh, we can track these audiences and the AI," and literally all that agency was going to do was install a metapixel for what they were doing. And so I think warning people to look at that. And there's a couple nonprofits I really like that work with entrepreneurs. And I have a relationship where I tell them, if anybody has a proposal from a digital marketing company, I am happy to look at it and just say, "Nope, sorry, that's what good SEO costs," or "No, they're taking you for a ride." Because I think marketing companies take advantage of the fact that clients don't know the vocabulary, they don't know the return on investment for things and whatnot. So, and that's something that if other people want to reach out to us, I'm always happy to look at and just do a common sense check. Look at it for 5 minutes and go, "Yes, this is a legitimate company," or "You need to run."
Yeah, that's definitely a good service to offer, being able to, because this is not a field that most people understand. You know, like you said in the beginning, with digital marketing, it's like nobody knows what you do, and trying to explain it to them, like, you're not going to get nowhere. Even my mom still thinks I take phone calls, and I was like, "Mom, I haven't done that in years." But anyway, trying to explain to people not in this profession what that is very hard. So having somebody who they can turn to, you know, get the right answers from and get an honest opinion of is awesome. So thanks for putting that in there. Now, about how many websites do you guys run right now?
On a monthly basis, we have about 50 websites we manage, and then we're usually building about 4 websites a month. And we have a really high retainability amongst those. We have a lot of clients that we've had for over 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And over half the builds we do end up staying on maintenance. And so that's kind of our bread and butter, is just to be there to keep everything going. And actually, of like all the blog articles we wrote, the one that has gotten the most traffic is we have one about how hiring a digital marketing agency is like going out on a date. You know, and the ones that just want to build the website are kind of like the ones that are just in it for like one good date and whatnot. And so a marketing agency should ask you questions. What are your goals? Where do you see, you know, I really want to understand you, because that means they're actually looking at being a partner and staying long term, versus the ones that just build the site tend to cut a ton of corners and you don't know until they're long gone.
Yeah. So what is you managing their websites entail? I know a lot of your customers are on Shopify. So walk me through kind of the process of what you do once you build that website.
So we are extremely type A, as I said. So we have a checklist that we run every month to make sure we are checking all these things, everything's functioning. If there's any issues, we catch it. We also do regular scans to make sure that their SEO, their page speed, and all that. But really what our clients love is we do support tickets where they have a set amount of time. And that can be from 3 hours a month up to 20 hours a month, where they just email us, hey, can you load these products? Hey, I need this new feature. Hey, what can we do to improve this and that? And we try to work as a partner, and it comes off their tab, so to speak. And so that really works well. And especially for those mid-size or kind of small to mid-size business that don't have a marketing department, to be like, hey, how can we do this? Do you know a partner? And to get those things up there.
Awesome. And you had mentioned, the blog post or the blog that you guys run. So do you also market and drive traffic to these websites as well?
So within our SEO services, we do content generation. And so, I'm a big fan of the content is king, and making sure you have something that hasn't been done a million times, that you actually offer value. Or, I tell people that all the time. What does this content give anybody that's not already out there? And that gets hard over the years because everything's so saturated.
Yes.
But it could be you have a novel concept, you have a succinct, you put it into a chart. I tell clients a lot of times that too long didn't read is very true. So sometimes it's going back through content and, hey, how do I bullet point this? How do I make it more visual and whatnot? So we really like that and do content generation for some of our clients. It's always funny talking about this because we get, as I said, all our work from referrals. So our website is kind of like the mechanic's car is always broken. So sometimes I look at our own website, I'm like, wow, we need to fix that. But, as an agency owner, if I have to choose between paid work and make my website look flashy, I'm doing paid work all day long. Yeah. And so, so it's kind of even with our blogs, I'm like, we need to fix that. So don't judge us by that. But honestly, I think with agencies, the good agencies are always booked. That can't start our way. You have to get in the queue, whatnot, is the way it's going to be. And I always caution clients to watch out for agencies that have this super slick pitch deck that can do a call with you in like 10 minutes and whatnot, that are selling you hard, because the good agencies are so busy, like they don't have time to do all that.
Right. Yeah, and I get the website because I've been trying to pitch to our tech guy that we need to update our website because it's like the same as it has been for years. And, we brought on different services. Some of them aren't even on the website. And I'm like, we got to drive people to this. How are we going to drive them to this if they're not even there? So, but again, it's exactly like you said, like we are, constantly busy, constantly working for our clients, that sometimes we come after.
Yeah.
So do you see YellowWebMonkey exploring any new projects or maybe any new services on the horizon in the near future?
Well, we've actually been scaling down our services. And I think that's something, as you grow as an agency, you can't be an expert in everything. And so
Right.
When we worked with smaller businesses, okay, we're trying to be your Swiss Army knife for things like that. But as you work with bigger clients and want to be an expert, what's really served us well is we've scaled down to the web design and the organic SEO. And that's what we're experts in, and that's what we're good. And we partner with, we have pay-per-click companies that we work with, email marketing companies. I always love to have those partnerships. So if there are email marketing companies or pay-per-click ones that want to reach out, I'm always trying to find people that know the right verticals for my clients. And so I think scaling that back has actually helped us be more successful. In terms of our long-term growth, I also want to kind of plug, we found a nonprofit called Hiring Our Heroes, which is actually part of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. But what it is it's a program to help veterans and milspouses get jobs. And it's like a fellowship. And so that's been really key in us growing, is that we, at any given point, have a couple fellows from Hiring Our Hero that are just excellent veterans and spouses that want to learn, that just really love and need a remote job so that they're not having to switch careers every 2 years. And so that's something I'd say for agencies to look into, because digital marketing is such a good field to work remotely, is that they should look at, hey, can I do a fellowship? And it's a great way to get talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times, not speaking bad on anybody else, but those people are going to be hard workers, coming from that background, like, you have a hard worker. That's somebody who has sacrificed a lot of things to, join the Army, the Navy. Regardless, they have sacrificed a lot, and they have usually a lot of self-discipline. And, that's somebody who's going to be normally successful in your company, regardless of what the company is, just because of who they are as a person. So another thing you said is, you're always trying to find somebody or people who know the right verticals for your clients. So tell us a little bit about what they are.
So we do a lot in the food and beverage space, but we also have all kinds of different clients. We also do WordPress in addition to Shopify. So on that side, we have a lot of professionals. We have orthopedic surgeons, we have lawyers, we have software companies and whatnot. And then, we really do. We have holster companies, we have CBD companies. And so what I've found in partners is that, like, especially if you're looking at like video production or social media, you can't be an expert in all those verticals. Like, I find agencies are best when they know a target audience and they have the connections and the referrals to, do that really well. Like for a video company, I'm not going to have the same company work with a client selling women's jewelry as I am with one that's, selling construction equipment. Because it's just a different feel and a different audience. And so that's what I'm looking for, that, hey, I want to see that you have experience with not necessarily the exact same thing, but the same audience, that you can create content or connect with that target audience that my client needs.
Exactly. Knowing who your target audience is going to make it a lot easier to be able to reach them, to be able to speak to them. Even on LinkedIn, that is very big, is like knowing your ICP, knowing your target audience and talking directly to them. And when you're trying to sell to any or everybody, it's kind of like you're selling to nobody, So we're about to wrap this up. So, Alexis, my last question to you would be, if there was, and I know we kind of already asked this, but if there was a new business owner starting in your shoes today, what's just 3 quick pieces of advice that you would give them?
Have savings. At some point, you will have something go south, whether it's a client not paying you or whatnot, and that you need to have that to get you over the hump. And part of that is pay yourself a set salary. Even if you have a wonderful month, pay yourself the same and build that up to kind of balance it out, because maybe you have a slow month, but you still pay yourself the same. And that goes back to having a job you like. For getting those clients in a portfolio, a great thing to do is do pro bono work for a nonprofit you like, or going to some company that has a good profile that's well known and saying, look, here's the deal. I'll do your website at half the price. The only thing I ask is if anybody asks, you did full price for it. Because it's amazing how getting those 1 or 2, you do their website, to do that. And then don't try to do everything. Figure out what you do well, and do that, because everything changes so much that you can't be an expert and stay to date with, 6 different facets of digital marketing. You just can't. It changes too quick.
Awesome advice. And I like the pro bono work. That's a good advice for somebody just starting out, who's got the time, who, isn't working full time yet, and they're trying to grow their business. It's a great way to expand their portfolio. So tell us, if they want to do business, how does the audience find you and YellowWebMonkey?
We've also been trying to boost our LinkedIn presence, so they can fill out the contact form on their website. They can connect with me, Alexis Priddy, on LinkedIn. We also just launched a new LinkedIn group that's for Shopify merchants to kind of get some free advice, like figuring out what's the right app, and it's like betting on the right horse. And so that's a great way to connect with us. And that's called Shopify Merchant Support.
Shopify Merchant Support. And what is the name of your website?
YellowWebMonkey.com.
Awesome. All right, perfect. Well, that wraps up this episode of Callcore Conversations. Alexis and Lorena, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.